Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rodney Mooney, and I will be administering today's 2018 professional development session. The purpose of this professional development is to enhance your abilities as teachers, to improve our students' academic abilities, and to ultimately improve our school. And I think that that's a consensus that we would all agree upon, is that we want to see our school become better than what it is. Not that we have a bad school, but that we want to improve and become the best school possible that we can. A few weeks back, we gave you guys a needs assessment survey in which we had each and every one of you to fill out and answer some areas that you felt like that we needed improvement upon. And out of 50 of you, we got responses back that helped us tremendously, and we were able to develop this professional development based off of the data we collected from each of you. So at this time, I'm going to show you the results of the data that we collected from the needs assessment information that we got back from each and every one of you. And what you're looking at right now is an Excel spreadsheet that shows the top 3 areas that you felt like that we need to improve upon. And the top 3, and I'll start from 3 and work up to 1. The third area that you felt like that we needed improvement on was individualized professional development. And you will see here later on that the individualized professional development is going to coincide with today's professional development. So we know that you all want to be able to do some professional development on your own and be able to do it at a pace that is beneficial for you. The second one was leadership skills. I think we all, including myself, want to improve our leadership abilities on how we lead others, which ultimately reflects us in the classroom. Because if we can develop better leadership skills individually, we can be better leaders for our students and for our young people. So we must be able to improve that area. So I definitely agree that that's an area that we need to improve upon. The number 1 area that you all selected as the number 1 need in our school is our ability to build a relationship with students. That is one of the top priorities in education. I think some of you who are older would agree that building relationships with students is a key factor in how successful a student is academically. So since developing and building relationships with students, since that was the number 1, we decided as an administrative staff that our professional development would be surrounded by information pertaining to how we can, as in school, build relationships with our students and build our instructional and our curricula and overall academics here at our school. So that's going to be today's focus on today's professional development session. So once again, the purpose of this professional development is to meet the needs of you guys. And also you have demonstrated through data and through assessment what area you feel like that we need most improvement upon, which is great. So we want to meet your needs, and we want to help you become better teachers. We want to help this become a better school. So through the data collected throughout the school year, we're going to focus on those 3 areas, which today's professional development will be focused upon building relationships with students, but also the other 2 areas that were mentioned are going to be some areas that we're going to get into later on in the school year, which is going to collectively become a huge professional development for us to improve our abilities as teachers and as educators. So some of you are probably thinking, well, I feel like I do a pretty good job of building relationships with my students. Some of you may say, you know something, I don't think that I do a very good job of building relationships with my students. So what we're going to do is we want you to take what you feel like that you do well and collectively combine it with some of the things that I'm going to speak about today, and utilize that to build better relationships overall with your students. I think it's going to be very important. So the first thing, when you first meet a student, what are some things that you can do? First of all, I think in my mind through inquiry, through questioning, that would be a great way to gather some information about your student. By just getting to know them through asking questions. Hey, what is your name? What are some hobbies, some things that you're interested in? Where do you live? And also too, like what connection that you have within the community. I know we have a community that is filled with students abroad who come in from different areas. So asking questions like, how are you connected to the community? Those are a couple of questions that you could ask students to try to start gathering some information from them. Once you gather the information, we have to make mental notes, and we must utilize those answers that we got from those questions that we asked to start developing a relationship with that student. So if I come to you and I say, hey, what's your name? And you say, my name is Dave, okay? Then every time that I approach you, I want to utilize your name and say, hey, Dave, how are you doing? If you tell me that one of your hobbies is you love to go play basketball, then when I walk up to you every day, I may come up and I may give a short story about basketball. I may come up and say, hey, did you watch the game last night? Did your favorite team win? That's a great way of just asking some simple questions to get students in a comfort zone where they feel comfortable in speaking with you, and they feel like that you have a sincere care for who they are, what they're about, and them as a person. Next, and a lot of you do this in the classroom now, it's something I feel like that is very important in getting to know your students, but having your own needs assessment and having surveys where you can ask the students, what do they feel like that our school could improve on? What do they feel like needs need to be met by their teachers or by their school? And gather that information so you can come back and utilize that each time that you're around that student and say, hey, I know that student over there says they want their teacher to talk to them more. Or hey, that student over there feels like that they want their teacher to know more about them as an individual and some of their favorite things, or maybe some of their hobbies, or some of the extracurricular activities that they're involved in. That student may want you to know more about them in that regard. So, just having an assessment, a student need assessment, is a great way to gather information that you could also speak with kids on and learn more about them on. Next, also utilizing, with us being a high school, career clusters is a great way, because a lot of students, they want you to know what it is in life that they want to achieve. So utilizing a career cluster and determining what areas of interest that they have can be a great way to also connect another area of information with them that you can, if a student says, I want to become an astronaut, or a student says, I want to become a teacher like yourself, then you can start kind of giving them bits and pieces and pointers about how they can pursue that career, or some things that they can do to pursue that career. Or you could connect some of the academic things that you're talking about in class with those students in coordinates to a career they want to go into. So I think that's a great way to connect with them also. Also, another way of building relationships with students is to utilize, and this is a very crucial part, but to utilize connecting with their parents. Despite different things that go on in the world these days, when it comes down to it, a parent knows their child better than you do. So connecting with that parent and letting that parent know what some of your expectations are for that child, some of the things that you've heard positively about that child, and some of the goals that you would like for that child to meet by the end of the school year, and how you need their help in helping them meet those goals. And letting that parent know through conversation that you want the best for them, and that you want that child to be successful like you do every other student. So contacting parents, gathering information from them, asking them, where do you feel like your child's strength is? What do you feel like that your child struggles with? What are some things that you feel like maybe your child wants to achieve in life that maybe I don't know anything about? That'd be a great way of connecting with the parents, and also using that information to connect with the child ultimately. And also too, due to misconstrued information at times that gets put in records, but also ask that parent what's the easiest way for you to connect with them and get in contact with them if you have any questions or concerns or any positives that you want to connect with that parent about. Things like email address, cell phone numbers, maybe a home number, maybe another close relative who might get in contact with them very quick. Gather that information from them so they can be accessible to you, and you can be accessible to them also. Also, another way of connecting information with building relationships with students is through conversating with them and by maybe mixing in groupings and letting them collaborate with other students can be a great way for you to find out what type of students or what groups does that student feel more comfortable with. So you could, if you've got a group of 20 students and you want to just come up with a cool activity to put them in groups of 5. You could have 4 groups of 5, and you can kind of evaluate through observation how well that student works with those students, or how well does that student work with these students over here, and just kind of figure out and determine how that student best works with others. Some students may not work well with others. Some students may prefer to work by themselves. Other students may enjoy working in groups, which is fine. But through just kind of trial and error and putting them in groups, you can find out who that student best works well with. So in a small conclusion, the purpose of the professional development session was just based around some ways that we can try to connect well with students, and how we can better meet the students' needs in addition to us meeting your needs as teachers. Some things like questioning, assessing the student, contacting parents, grouping, trial and error, are some ways that we can build relationships with students in a positive manner, which makes us more comfortable with the students, and also makes the student more comfortable with you, which is the ultimate goal. And ultimately, we hope that that student responds well to you building relationships with them, and also will ultimately lead to seeing them flourish academically. That's the ultimate goal. Now, we've got 3 different parts of this professional development that's going to take place. Right now, what we're doing is going to be part 1 of it. Part 2 and part 3 is going to be on you as a teachers. Okay. Part 2 is going to consist of myself and administration. We're going to email each one of you a webinar link. Okay. This webinar is going to be how to improve relationships with your students. Okay, it's a short seminar, a short webinar, which I think lasts about 25 minutes or so. So we're going to send you this link. We're going to give you 1 month, okay, to view this webinar. Okay, you can utilize your planning periods. You can utilize while you're at home. You can utilize after school, whatever works best for you, but you've got 1 month to do it. You can do it on the weekends if you're sitting at home with your dog. But you're going to be able to view that webinar, and during that time, we want you to take some notes. Take some notes of basically what you see going on in the classroom, how you see that teacher working well with students, and how you feel like that you could inherit that or incorporate that into your class based off of the positive that you're seeing in that webinar video. and that online professional development. This is an individualized way for you to receive a professional development in addition to what I'm doing right now, but a great way for you to have an individualized professional development and do it on your own time, okay? Which you got your own time, but you only got 1 month to do it. So, once you have concluded with the webinar, we're going to move you into part 3, which is the final part of the professional development. And the third part of that is you collaborating with another teacher within your department. Now, I'm going to speak with all of the department heads in each department and have them to be looking forward to hearing from you. And what's going to happen in part 3, the first part of it is each one of you can pick one teacher within your department to go and observe. We're only asking that you go and observe 25 minutes. We know that your planning periods are very tight and you've got other things to do. We understand that. But we want you to go and observe another teacher for 25 minutes. So during that time, what are you going to be observing? You're going to observe how that teacher interacts with their students. You're going to be collectively gathering information in your head and say, man, I really like that. Not necessarily are we looking for anything negative, but we want you to take the positives out of it. So you can say, hey, I like how that teacher asked that question to that student. I like how that teacher interacted with that group. I like how that teacher put that small group of kids together and let them work on writing down notes, whatever it may be. And during that time, you can take personal notes on your own. After you concluded that, we're going to give you, we want you within a week of finishing up observing another teacher, we want you to get with that particular teacher. So for example, Ms. Johnson, if you go and observe Ms. Smith, then after you observed her, we want you to go and get with Ms. Smith. And we want you to work on planning a lesson together. So you two, after you've observed each other, then we want you to get together as a small group, maybe during your planning period, maybe after school, maybe before school, and we want you to put together a lesson to teach together. So when you put together that lesson to teach together, we want you to take all of the positives that you both observed from each other, and we want you to put together a lesson based around the content area that you guys are in, and we want you to have certain parts where Ms. Smith, you're going to teach one part of it, Ms. Johnson, you're going to teach one part of it, and while the other one is teaching, one of you can be going to the students while they're teaching and maybe helping students stay focused, or maybe asking a question, or maybe giving a child a pat on the back, or maybe encouraging them for getting down the right information, or for encouraging them for asking a question. Basically relationship type stuff where when you flip-flop, the other one's going to do the exact same thing. So that'd be a great way for you guys to not only improve each other as teachers, but also build relationships with students. So we want you to do that together. After you have concluded doing that together, we want you to do a reflection. Get together with each other and say, what could we have done better? How could we have connected with students better? Did we leave any students out that didn't hear from us during that period that we were teaching together? What could we do better if we were going to redo this lesson again? So that's going to help give each other information on not only improving instruction, but how to better relate to students and how to better instruct students through the building of relationships. So that's going to be the final part to the professional development that we're going to do today. So overall, in a nutshell, what do we want to do? We want to improve our relationships with students. We want to improve our instruction. Okay, we want to better relate to our students. And all we're going to be able to do that is by connecting with our students through asking questions, getting to know them, not being shy, involving them with groups that they feel comfortable with. That's going to be the way that we're going to be able to better improve this school and better connect with our students. The last thing I'll say this is what I want you to take with you as we finish up today's professional development session. This is what I want you to take with you. Many of you are married. Some of you have a boyfriend and you have a girlfriend, correct? So ask yourself, how did you get to learn that person that you're connected with, that person that you're in a relationship with? You didn't just show up one day and say, hey, I like you. Do you want to date? Do you want to get married? You didn't do that, okay? You built a relationship with that person through asking questions. Hey, what's your name? Hey, where are you from? Hey, tell me something nice about yourself. What are some of your hobbies? And then you ask yourself, does that work for me? That's kind of what you've done. And a relationship was developed. So I want you to think in yourself. Also, we don't want to have relationships with our students like that, but I want you to use that same thought and ask yourself, how can I connect with that student and that student and that student and that student? Well, I've got to get to know them. If I know them on a personal level, I can better instruct them. They're going to better learn from me. So at this time, what we're going to do to end up is, for the next 10 minutes, I want each of you to get in some small groups, okay? And I want you to talk about what we have just discussed for the last nearly 20 minutes, okay? And I want you to ask yourself, what can you take from this professional development going into part 2 of the webinar and part 3 of the teaching together, the co-teaching and observing of each other? What can I take into that can make me a better teacher for this year? That can make our students better relate to us and how we can better relate to our students. That's what I want you to discuss here. And during this time, if any of you have any questions for me specifically about how you feel about what we just discussed, maybe some things that you can tell me about that you think may help improve, maybe some things we can have another group discussion about, please let me know. Okay, so for the next 10 minutes, I want you to get some small groups. It doesn't have to be based on content area. It can just be in some small groups and just say, what are some things that maybe you've done well over the years? What are some things that you feel like that you need to improve on? So don't be shy. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. And lastly, we will reconvene together and build on this professional development. So what I'm going to do is basically give, like, over the next 2 months, we're going to go through sessions, part 2 and part 3 of our professional development session from today. And once all that is concluded, we're going to come back together and we're going to see how everyone responded well to it, or how everyone responded to it in general. What you liked, what you didn't like, what it is that we could do better. Okay? So thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great afternoon, and go ahead and get with your groups, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.